The Strange Motion Way podcast, brought to you by Royal Purple Synthetic Oils.
Royal Purple premium synthetic motor oils and high-performance chemicals have been designed to improve performance in all conditions and provide cleaner operation, better mileage, and decreased oil change frequency. That means less oil changes. With products available for your gasoline and diesel engines, Royal Purple is the obvious choice for your performance needs. Drive with Royal Purple, the synthetic expert. Welcome to another episode of the Strange Motion Way podcast. I'm your host, Tim Strange, along with
Carrie Strange.
And then, as usual, we have Axel and Turbo running around. Tonight, we have another racing person from a different series we've not talked to. A four-time Nitro boat drag race champion and record holder for 1,000 feet at 3.1 seconds. And a quarter mile, 4.58. Between 2019 and 2022, this is stats that he gave me, so it might be elaborated a little bit. 65% of his rounds. He's also raced in the ARCA series, and we're going to talk about that and so much more. We'll talk about him, kicking our butts in go-kart racing one time, too.
No, that's debatable.
We got to know this guy through some of our mutual sponsors and supporters for both of our shops, Industrial Depot out of the Atlanta area, and Jet Industrial Tools and Equipment. Welcome, Tyler Speer.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we were just down at your place a few days ago helping you get rid of some estate stuff, and I bought a nice 32 Ford chassis for myself, and we were going to record live that day, but then we took too long loading stuff, and we didn't really have taillights on the trailer. So.
We had one, I think.
We had one, yeah.
We did make it home, but we did decide as we pulled up the driveway, it was a good thing that we didn't, because we did look like the Clampets going down the road.
Yeah, we didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
No tubs were found on the side of 75, huh?
Not that we're aware of.
Yeah. So, Tyler, let's go back to little Tyler before we get into all the crazy cool stuff you're doing. And I didn't say that at the intro, but you and your dad run Pro Boat.
Yep.
He says he's not Atlanta, but he's north side of Atlanta.
It's the outskirts. People that live in Georgia, you have to be inside the perimeter to be Atlanta. Outside 285 is not Atlanta.
Gotcha. Kind of like what we are when we were in Illinois. Everybody said, "Oh, you're from Illinois, Chicago." No. We're not. We're Chicago, so we get it.
So let's go back to little Tyler growing up. Did your dad run the boat shop your whole life?
Yeah, since I could ever remember. Mom had a clothing store, and Dad had the boat shop, and it was ever since I can remember, it was behind the house. He built that shop, which is where the race shop is now. In 90 is when he finished that, when I was born. And I just remember going out there and hanging out with him as a kid and helping him.
Wait, you were born in 90?
Yeah, 90.
Tim graduated in 89.
Oh.
We have some stuff we're coming up with young, but you're officially the youngest person we've had on the podcast.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Another record. Another win.
Yeah. So when he did that, I mean, I remember going out there as a kid and just helping him out at the shop some. And it's funny because I tell this story frequently. So when I was a kid, I'd go out there and I was like 7, something like that. And he'd be like, "Hey, go get me a 7/16 wrench." And I'd bring him back like a 7/8 because I'm 7 and I don't know my fractions yet. Right. But I got one of the numbers right. I was pretty proud for that.
That's like working in the shop with Carrie still today. She'll just bring you a handful of wrenches.
I do.
Here, take your pick.
All else fails, just grab the whole bag. Just take all of it.
Yeah, she treats wrenches like golf clubs.
Oh, really?
Just a stick.
Yeah.
Just a stick. Yeah.
To be fair, they're a lot more durable than golf clubs. You can really pitch them and they'll still hold up and you still use them. But yeah, I remember going out there and helping him with that. And he's like, "That's not the wrench." And I'm like, I don't know fractions yet. And I did learn them quickly after a few times. And as everybody knows, when you're working on something and it's not going the way you want, then you don't get them the right wrench. You quickly realize that you better figure this out quickly.
As they say on social media, you can't hurt my feelings. I used to hold the flashlight for my dad when I was a kid.
Yep. That is 100% the fact.
Yeah.
Now it's starting to reverse, and now he holds the flashlight for me, and now he gets redemption. Now
Yeah.
retaliation. But yeah, I just started up doing that, and then I started. You guys saw the go-kart track that was across the street from where Pro Boat's at now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in '97, we moved to the shop that we're at now, and the go-kart track across the street. I started actually racing over there, and raced there for about 3 or 4 years, and then Gary Brigham, which is longtime family friend, and he's actually had some vehicles at the Good Guys shows and that kind of stuff back in the day. I think early 2000s. And anyway, he was like, "You need to get out of the go-karts and get into cars." And so he decided. He told my dad. He said, "Hey," he said, "I'll get you." He's like, I'll make you a deal." He's like, you get Tyler to and from the track. I'll buy his first car for him." And my dad always said, he was like, if I would have, looking back, I should have flip-flopped that deal, and it would have been way better off than than just buying the first car. And but Gary got me started in car racing, and then it just kind of took off from there. And I didn't actually start boat racing until 2014. But I've been building boats, helping Dad since I was a kid. But Dad raced in the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s, and then of course when my brother and I were born, a little less racing and more taking care of us and working on the boat business. But
so you just raced at that go-kart track there in the neighborhood? You didn't travel and go-kart racing anywhere?
Yeah, just at that track. And then basically from there, being in the Marine side, Donovan Marine, which back in the day was Southern Marine, they would go do shows at like Daytona, Talladega. And we were at one of the Marine shows, and whenever we were down there for it, they said they had like where you could make laps in a stock car, right? Like the driving experience like Petty has and Wallace. And the Allison brothers were there. And long story short, Dad ended up getting his card pulled to ask Donnie Allison and some of them some questions on racing. And so he's like, "Hey, Dad was like, I got my son wants to start driving cars. What's the best path?" And of course, Farmer was there, and he said dirt racing naturally. And Donnie's like, "No, you need to bring him to the Allison Legacy Series." So then that's when we started an Allison Legacy Series. And
I don't remember that series. What kind of cars were they?
They used 4-cylinder Mazda motors and transmissions. We were making 120-ish. This is going off of memory of a few years ago now, but somewhere around 120-ish horse, 150 horse out of them. And,
see, we told you the cat would show up every once in a while.
Yeah, guest appearance. But yeah, we raced those. They're like 3/4 scale. Okay, kind of what they're like. So we raced those for a few years, and then from there teamed up with Andy Hillenberg. And
was that pavement or dirt?
Yeah, all pavement.
Okay.
Yep, and then of course,
what tracks did that series race at?
We ran Kershaw, South Carolina. A lot of like Concord, Hickory. Kershaw was the road course. We ran Florence, Dillon Motor Speedway. Back when it was Gresham or Peach State in Georgia. Never raced at Lanier with those cars. Just kind of more in the southeast area, but it was a touring series. We went all the way up to Virginia, I think was the farthest north that we went.
What was your best finish in that, and how many years did you race that series?
We ran that series for, this is having to go back and think now. 5-6 years, and I think 5 years. And
how old are you at this time?
I was, when we got out of that series, I was 18.
Okay.
When I got out. So I guess 4 or 5 years. Because I started it when I was 13 or 14. But we moved out of that, and I think I think the highest we got was 3rd place in points. We won some races and did pretty well. Some of the other people that came out of there was Trevor Bain came out of there. Larry McReynolds' son Brandon raced there. I know Joey Logano raced in the series some. That was before me. There's been a number of Cup drivers that have raced there. Some guys that still race ARCA now. Gus Dean, he came out of there. There's a list of some people that have run through Allison Legacy Series to move up. And then in 20,
was that series still around?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I don't really know what they're running. I haven't really kept up with them as well. I know one of the guys pretty well. That was the tech director, but they're still running. I don't know what their car count is and that kind of thing. But it was a pretty fun series. We had a good time in that, and kind of learned a lot. And then moved into late models, and late models were fun. But I much rather the amount of money that you spend on the late models versus like ARCA. Your bang for your buck in ARCA is way more than you get in the late model series.
Really? Was that pavement or dirt late model?
It's all pavement that we ran. The only thing we ran a few races in somebody else's car at Dixie, and that was, I think we ran like 7 races. We did pretty good there too in a crate late model, but that's about the most we ran in dirt. And then of course when ARCA runs DeCoin and Springfield, we run some of those dirt races with Andy Hillenberg whenever he has openings and stuff.
Yeah, we grew up in Illinois, and the closest pavement track was Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which was a couple hours away. But there was every fairgrounds had a dirt oval, and we had friends that raced. So every Friday night we were dating. We went to the dirt track races. Like it wasn't even a question. It's like, oh, we're going to dirt track. What time you want picked up? That was just the thing. That was our Friday night date.
That's other than BMX. That's kind of how we met. At the circle dirt track race.
Well, we met first at the BMX track. Then we got reacquainted.
Yes.
You were the weird screaming.
I was the weird taco girl.
Yeah.
Then.
Remember
when Taco Bell used to have like the 12-pack and it was like in a little case? And you just went and bought. Yeah. Well, that's what every Friday night. That was our dinner.
How did you and your dad get all those tacos? And you weren't supposed to bring food into the stands. How did you smuggle in a dozen tacos? I don't even know.
Probably under my blanket. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But, okay, let's back you up just a little bit because you said you were in 18. In school, were you into sports or were you just a racer?
So I actually played soccer and then ran track. And it was funny because when I started, I could have gone state with the running long jump in track. And that was about the time I started go-kart racing and took the left turn and went go-kart racing versus doing any more athletic stuff at school. And
that's why he's so skinny. He likes to run. I only run if somebody's chasing me.
Well, you can think someone's chasing you. You'd probably do pretty good then. But they did. We did. The cool part was, you can only miss so many days in school, and the principal, he actually had some Legends cars back in the day, and so he was a racer, and I was missing way more school than my grades are still fine, but you couldn't miss more than 7 days or whatever it was. And he said, he was like, hey, he said, if you need to miss extra days for what you're doing, he was like, that's fine. And so he was super cool dude. And I got to miss.
But in Georgia, don't you guys only go till 8th grade and you're done anyway?
No, we go to 7th.
Oh, that's Kentucky. Yeah. That's Kentucky.
Yeah.
Missouri, Arkansas.
But yeah, the principal was super cool and super nice. So it was a good, it was a neat deal in high school that he let me leave and kind of do what I wanted to do, kind of thing. So
awesome.
So you never had like a weird, embarrassing high school job. You just worked for your dad then?
Yeah. Well, you weren't supposed to, but yeah, we let that slide too. So, and then basically I got done with school and came here, and Dad just put me to work earlier, and it worked out. Hindsight 2020.
Perfect. But, so what was your first, as you being a boat racer but still a car guy, this is a car podcast, what was your first car that you had?
I don't really know if I want to talk about my first car.
Yeah, we've had some good embarrassing ones.
I had a Chevette, okay, and it was epic.
She remembers her Chevette as being the awesomest thing ever. It was a 4-door piece of. I remember you paid $800 for it from Jamie, whatever his name is.
Stillbeck.
and it was such a piece of crap, you never fully paid it, and you took it back after a few months. I always had to help push start it. The turning signal lever was broke off, and you had to fish around for the handle to stick in the hole. Her brother was kind of a mechanic at that time. Well, he ended up being a mechanic for a while. The ignition switch was messed up, so you flipped the toggle and hit a push button to start it. Yeah, it was quite the peach.
That's race car status right there.
Right? Exactly. So you can't be too embarrassed.
So the first car that I actually started driving in high school was a PT Loser, and it was, oh my God. And then we had an ice storm, and the best day was when I hit a patch of ice and KO'd a tree, and I still had to fix it, and then we sold it, but it did push the deal of selling it after it came head on with a tree. But
so what does a girl say when you roll up and pick her up on a date in a PT Cruiser?
I didn't, for that like 6 months to a year, I didn't pick any girls up in that short window of time.
Because like I had a lowered pickup truck and a Chevelle. Carrie knew me from my lowered square body that I had, and I wrecked it before our actually first real date. There was no cell phones and social media, so she didn't know. I showed up in my mom's Beretta, and she was like, "What are you driving?" I was like, "You didn't hear? Like, my buddy went to the hospital. Like, I totaled my truck out." And she's like, "So we're taking your mom's car?" And in my mind, she stood there for like a half hour before she decided to still go on the date. Like,
I think I asked you, "Are you going to fix it?"
Yeah. Like, yeah. That's what ugly guys do. We have hot rods so we can get girls. So
yeah. And half the time it's just other guys that are like, "Cool."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But after that I had a truck, and that thing leaked so much oil you didn't have to change it; it burned it. So that was.
What kind of truck was it?
You guys remember that Cash for Clunkers back in like late 2000s? Yeah. So that truck had the original motor. It was a 95 Chevy extended cab deal, and I would always know whenever I needed to add a bunch of oil in it, because I'd be going up the hill to school, and the oil pressure would go down to 0 and back up to 40, and then back down to 0. And I'm like, all right, this is time to add about 3 quarts in it.
That'd be a good truck to have now. Those OBS trucks, they're hot.
I know. Well, they did that Cash for Clunkers, and they gave us like almost 10 grand for the 350,000 mile truck. I'm like, all right. So pretty sure it's unfortunately crushed now, but yeah, that was the other one. And then going back to y'all's story on the wrecked vehicle. So one of the first dates when Jocelyn came down, fiance now, whenever we started dating in 2015, it was a similar deal. So I had to drive. I had a 2001. It was jacked up 1500. Had to take a capsule up to get some seat stuff done at North Carolina to get pouring seat stuff done. So we went up there. Some guy blew a red light, T-boned me. The whole passenger side door, everything was caved. Still opened. I don't know how, but it was all caved in. So I went to pick her up. It was a similar deal the first day. She had to climb. I got her to climb over the driver's seat in and out that way for the first time we went riding around town, and had a little wind noise over there. But
there's a lot of us guys that would never be married if it wasn't for girls with low standards.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Yep.
But the good part is when you set it that low out of the gate, there's only one way to go. I mean,
exactly.
Only impress her after that.
My dad took my mom on the first date he worked at a dairy farm, and it was the farm truck that smelled like cow manure. And she's like, the shift, there was vice grips on the shifter or something like that. Yeah, and it was a piece of crap, but she went anyway. So
it worked out. Got the job done to and from.
Yeah. It's okay. Your late. How many years did you race late models?
We raced those for about a year, maybe 2 years, year and a half, and then that's about the time whenever we started in the ARCA series. We started that in, I guess my first race was 18, so we kind of had a little bit of overlap between late models and ARCA, and I've always partnered.
I don't know a lot about ARCA. We watched the ARCA race we went to Daytona for the 500 this year.
I don't think that was a good one to watch, but
it was awesome.
It was fun.
The Cletus McFarland interview was the best racing interview ever.
Well, it looked like kind of looked like Demolition Derby, I think, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, our friends warned us that they go every year, and we took them the Indy 500, so they took us to Daytona, and they're like, yeah, it's like until you get to the Cup race on Sunday, they go these super speedways. There's a lot of crash 'em ups. Yeah, there was a lot of yellows, but it was still entertaining. So what is at that time? What was the ARCA cars running that you were driving?
So they were steel bodies when I started. It was before they went to the composite bodies now. Mm-hmm. They were SB2. We were running all Chevy stuff, so they were all SB2 stuff. And we actually traded all of our Allison Legacy cars with Andy Hillenberg we traded 2 Allison Legacy cars for one. It's kind of like 1.5 cars for one car for ARCA. And
how long did they run the SB2s? Like the SB2s, they got into the used market and stuff when they started going away. Or we had a guy in Illinois that he'd go down to the NASCAR teams, buy used parts and sell them to everybody and everything. And I know a couple guys that built hot rods with SB2 motors in them, and they didn't really run that SB2 a whole lot of years, did they?
They ran them. They ran them for a little while, but when they phased them out, it was once they went to the Ilmore motor and they swapped that deal over, they just weren't really competitive anymore. So really the only people running them now are road race guys. So It's kind of, when they phased out, it was pretty quick, because about that same time ARCA NASCAR acquired ARCA. Similar time frame, so it got phased out. It was getting phased out quickly, and it kind of expedited that phasing out of SB2s. I mean, they made good power. Ours made, I don't know, low 700s, and I think some of the other guys, they were making low 800s out of them. I mean,
they're cool looking too. I mean, they're just slightly different. And there's a couple guys. The Kings run an SB2 motor in that purple and white Camaro auto. Some autocross guys run SB2 stuff.
Yeah. I mean, they made good power. I mean, they were pretty durable. We made a lot of laps with them. Mm-hmm. But when they went the Ilmore deal, they started to put. I think they either put weight restrictions or they changed some of the configuration up on what you had to, like, for the composite body and the Ilmore motor versus the SB2 and the steel bodies. Mm-hmm. And then they finally phased all those.
So back there when you were racing, were you guys building? Well, I can touch stuff.
No, you can't.
Oh, because the microphone's going to pick me up. Okay, I get in trouble all the time here. Were they sealed motors, or was there motor programs?
No, they were motor programs. And like I know Ford had their deal. You could get I'm pretty sure, I don't remember if Haas had a deal. You could do like rentals. That's what most of everybody did, was like a rental program. Of course, we didn't have the funding to do the rental program. That's what the Ilmore was supposed to do, is try to level the playing field out as far as the money side of it goes. But we owned all of our stuff and did all our own setup and all our own work on them whenever we ran. But I think just like the rental stuff for some of I know like the Ford side, it was 30-40 grand for a weekend just for motor rentals. That's not the rest of the deal.
Yeah, so, that gets expensive in a hurry, don't it?
Oh yeah, that was everybody's like, so whenever you did boats, like do you miss ARCA? And I'm like, 100%. But man, I'm like, you don't have a tire bill. We get a whole season out of props. I'm like, this is the only tires we got to worry about is on the trailer. I'm like, this is nice.
Yeah.
So, but
how many seasons did you race ARCA?
So we ran the last time we ran was in 19, and we might run it again here or there. We just haven't had any. We focus more on the boat stuff now. And
so we were at the shop, both the boat shop, the other building, and then the race shop.
Yep.
There was a car on that lift. Was that your ARCA car? The one at the upper back of that lift?
Yep. So I have 2 chassis left, and I won't. The one that's on the rack was the first. That's number 1 for us. It's the first ARCA car I ever had, and so I'll keep that and probably put it back together. And I don't know. We talked about doing like some road race stuff with it, or like the MIDI, or
Is that the one you challenged Finnegan to a race with?
No. So that other one was that was a complete car, and it was it was a composite body, a late model body that I ended up getting. I had left over from the late model stuff, and I tried to sell the frame. And man, nobody wanted the frame because it's outdated, race stuff. And so I started looking around, and I think I got a picture somewhere, and it's just I have more bins of nothing but parts, and I'm like, man, I think I have enough parts to put a car together. So that's how that started. Then I ended up getting it street legal, and that's whenever I saw Finnegan's deal. I was like, we need to go race him. He didn't want any part of that. He's like, your car's too nice. I'm like, it looks nice, but it's still used parts.
So that how was your race record? Did you do some wins, or how did you do in points and stuff like that in the ARCA for those years?
We did pretty good. We never ran a full season. Just never had the funding to do it really. We ran, I don't know, we probably run 10 races total. We'd always run like 1 or 2 races a year. And we did pretty good. I think we have 4 7th place finishes. We just never, 7 was an evil number. I mean, I led laps, and we did really well. We'd be in the top 5 and just couldn't close on it. I mean, we just, we didn't have the freshest of motors, and, of course, we just didn't have we couldn't get the best of the best with, some of the funding stuff that we had. But for what we did and the people we were up against, it was pretty wild what we did do. I mean, I kind of knew what some of the rental rides were that the other guys around us were running, and we were whooping up on them. I mean, you could do the corner times, and we were over half a second faster on the corner, but our straightaway speeds, the car was not set up to go straight. So we were like 3/4 of a second slow on the straightaways.
So our good friend that raced, he was a BMXer with me. That's how I met him. Then he started racing dirt track cars, just street stock, which was very competitive. It was, he was raced like 3 different tracks, and he'd always get like second, third, fourth, and he'd finish the season in like 3 or 4 for the points for the track championship and stuff. And he goes, I just can't beat those cheaters. I go, well, how do you know they're cheating? He goes, I am. So that's just a racer thing. Yeah. It's like, just haven't got caught yet. Yeah.
It's just, the rule book has gray areas. Some are bigger than others. That's all.
Yeah.
Just how you interpret it and how you read it.
I got my buddy that he's since wrecked it, that did a land speed for El Mirage in Bonneville. And he brags about, because he posted his build. It took him 12 years to build it, not enough money and time when you're running a shop, and got it done. And he showed some stuff online when he was building it. So they reached out to him, and they added a new rule in the rule book that was a gray area, something about the frame rails under the passenger compartment for the truck class. And he goes, dude, I created a rule before I even got my truck on the racing surface. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I haven't even got it there. There's already a rule.
Yeah.
That's always, as a racer, that's always the best, though, whenever there's a rule and you're the reason that they have it. That's almost better than winning a race. You're like, oh, perfect. Now we know.
Yeah. That's probably better than you were the result. You were the reason for the safety meeting.
Yeah. This is true.
Yeah. So where were we?
So we're finishing the ARCA.
Oh, finishing ARCA.
Yep. So what's the next step after that?
So while we were doing some of the ARCA stuff in 2014.
And this whole time, you guys were running the boat shop the whole time.
Yep. Right. Yeah. So we kind of mixed the boats and the cars whenever we were running in the 2013, 2014. So 2014, I ended up we ended up buying the orange drag boat at the same time we were running a few races in ARCA with Andy. And so we were putting it together, and we didn't start running our first full season in the drag boat scene until 2015 was our first full season. And the main reason we actually even moved over from ARCA over to the drag boats was Mav TV and Lucas and everything they were doing for the series. I mean, the TV time was awesome. Everything was like they were pumping a bunch into it, and it was really good viewership. Of course, I'd been around the sport. I've driven a bunch of boats, never driven a hydro, but I was like, man, I think I can do this too. So, of course, we looked around, found a boat, and it was all in pieces naturally. So explain
to people, like, everybody thinks boat, V bottom. It's not. So explain the style, the shape of the boat.
Yeah, so a lot of people, when they think of boat racing, a lot of them think of like offshore racing, like big wide boats or high like H1. Ours are like the boat that I started racing. It was only 16 foot long, front to back, and they're hydros. So they have a bunch of different types of boats. The boat that I grew up building, that were pretty much all jet boats. What you would kind of see hot rods at your lake, like the small jets. And then what we ended up first started racing though, when I got into it in 14, was a hydro. And a hydro, they're still about 16 feet long. Some of them are 21 foot, depending on the boat style. Because kind of like going back to that rule book, the rule book is pretty vague on. There's only certain classes that they're specific on what the boat has to be. It's a pretty open. Like if you wanted to go make a boat of whatever you thought would work, you can. I mean, it's pretty open with what you want to do. There's some safety stuff once you get into like the professional classes, the capsule classes. Those have safety specific stuff on the capsule that you have to do. But outside of that, it's a pretty broad area. So the way hydros work is basically once they get up on plane, they have 3 points of contact. So they have the two front sponsons are just skis, and then the prop. If you get some pictures and you can really look.
Yeah, they kind of look like, to a non-boat guy, they kind of look like a couple pontoons left and right.
Yep. Yeah. So some of the they call those outriggers that have the pontoons like what we run now. What I started running was they call them like a Curtis. They're a much smaller build. They're all one piece, so like the sponsons won't bolt up. And the way that those work in a very similar way, so the front still act like skis and they skim across the top of the water. And then as you get going down the track, which is the weirdest part ever, is as you go down the track and it what they call blow the tail, that's whenever they shoot the real big rooster tail up the back. So when that happens, the boat, as you're going down the track, starts to like lift up in the back. So it's like it's almost like probably like as you're doing like a burnout and the tires lift up, if you're in a dragster. It's kind of like a similar deal. And it is the weirdest feeling the first time you ever make a lap in one of those. Because as you're going down the track, as the tail's coming up, I mean, it's picking the back of the boat up out of the water. So you're going down the track and you're just looking down more as you're going down the track at 160 miles an hour. So that was my first lap was in a hydro doing that, and I'm like
60 miles an hour.
And like I went probably, I mean, not fast on water, 30 mile an hour. Like it seemed on when you go on water, it's a percent. There's a number that they've always talked about. I worked for the first Chevy dealership I worked at. It was Jim Eggles's Chevrolet in Princeville, Illinois, and I told you about this. He raced a GM Goodrich boat and was offshore racing boat. Was on ESPN2. It was Mr. Goodrich and painted checkers till we were blue in the face for that thing. And he won the championship a couple times. I don't know. It wasn't the fastest, but I know it was at least in that series he was on. I ran 2 big blocks, and it was his boat was a normal V-bottom boat.
Yep.
So I knew, some of that stuff. I just lost my train of thought on that.
You were talking about how fast.
Oh, yeah. And he would say, like, oh, yeah, well, if I'm going, we never went out with him. And it's like, boat guys always say, oh, you go 40 mile an hour on the water. It almost feels like you're going not quite double, but you're going 65 or 70. The water feels a lot faster than you're on pavement, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And the open boats, you really get that sensation, especially with the helmets on, because the helmet, that wind is lifting your helmet up. But in the capsule boats, you don't get as much as this sensation until the parachutes don't come out or something goes awry quickly. But because when you're down in the capsule behind the windshield, you don't have all that, you don't have the air noise, you don't have all the sensations of going that fast. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people. It's funny with doing the hot rods at the shop and stuff, and we go lake test. And some of these guys, that we build some of the hot rod jet boats for lake boats, they've never been in anything this fast on the water, for a number of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time you take them out, it's always the best, always the best when they're sitting in the passenger seat and you go nose it over and hammer down on it. And, because a jet boat will get up to full speed and almost, under 660 feet, you're almost maxed out already. Mm-hmm. And they have really good out of the hole speeds on them. And my always judge is if you're going down the lake and your cheeks start to actually like ripple a little bit and you can feel that, then you're close to 100. And when the water starts coming around your eyes, you're over 100. That's normally my
see. I call bullshit on that because we do BMX a little bit and we're not the most in shape, but we still do BMX. And like, especially if it's cool, and if I go even like a warm up lap, my eyes will water, and I am not going 100 mile an hour.
Are you sure that's water or is it sweat or?
It could be tears. It could be man tears, like I'm crying for my safety. It could totally be that.
Good call out.
Yeah, totally be that.
Yeah, but the best part is people are like, oh, my boat runs 100, and then we're in a boat that runs 100 on the lake, and then we go by them, and it's not 100.
I can't imagine going 100 on water. I can't.
I don't think I want to.
Oh.
I want to race a Bonneville, but I don't want to go 100. I don't want to go 100 on the water.
Well, you got to do it one time,
right? Come on, don't be a pansy.
So if I guess I wet my pants, I can just get in the water when you slow down.
Yeah, no one will know. And in your aspect, if you cry, we won't know either because we're going over 100. Our water will be coming out.
Yeah,
you'll be safe. You're good. You're all good.
Yeah.
See, we got you covered.
Yeah.
And if you're screaming, we also can't hear that. They might hear you on shore, but we won't be able to hear it in the boat. So you're safe.
So when you first started racing, what was the motors you were running then? Did you go instantly into Nitro, or did you work your way up?
So when we started, a buddy of mine that actually has the orange boat that I first started racing pro mod in, he ended up buying that boat, but he had a jet boat that we had built for him. And I was looking to start getting into it. And he was like, well, go make a lap in my boat. He's like, shoot, you build it. So I made a lap in it and modified eliminator. And I went from one lap and getting licensed in modified eliminator to finishing the pro mod that we'd built. Never been in a hydro, like I said before. And had no idea what really to expect. Dad had been in one, so he was coaching me, through it. And we went out there and the first race, some people have a hard time, especially when you're building a boat with motor combinations on trying to get all that right is pretty difficult. And so when we started, like when I ran that jet boat, it was a big block Chevy. And then of course it was a Brad Hemi that actually Chris Vandergriff at Headman Hustler Header. He's the one that actually got me teamed up with Andy Bull, which is a top alcohol funny car racer. And he was the one that I got some of his old motors because I didn't need the newest, latest, greatest thing. I needed good power. So we ended up dynoing it. It made a little over 2,000 horse. And we ended up. And
that motor was what again? That was an alcohol motor?
Yeah, it was it had a 1471 blower shop blower on it, alcohol, a mechanical fuel injected Brad Anderson Hemi is what that was. And we won
all big names, following drag racing, blower shop and Brad Anderson. That's all. I mean, it's the same technology kind of for the motor. So I guess there's a lot of crossover, isn't there?
Yeah. So pretty much like even the stuff that we're running now it's pretty much all the same. The only difference that we have car versus the boat is, hydros want all the power right now. With the car, they use the clutch and they slip the clutch and get the tire to hook up. We actually use the prop as our clutch, right? So like whenever you get on the gas on a hydro, it's in gear and you're wide open immediately.
So is there there's different clutch packages and that? So without giving any secrets, do certain people have a certain style of a prop or a curve to make them go fast, and somebody's always trying to work on a different prop? Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's props are the number one deal. So what you do, especially in like R&D, so like for us to get licensed in our first deal out to find the right motor combination, balance of the boat and everything else. And I mean, it was our first race really when we were out at Wheatland, we got licensed to run, which was, for us not being around, since Dad, last time he was in a hydro was the 90s. we got that figured out. The prop deal is one of those things where there's pitch, diameter, there's you can change the blade with how much bite there is. There's just, the props are like almost a black magic. So once you find a prop that works really well for your boat, your motor, your gearing combination, you want to go get that duplicated almost immediately. But even when they duplicate it, it's not 100% the same. It's never 100% the same. So like our graphs, when you get on the gas for our deal, the graph comes up and it cavitates. When it cavitates, the back of the boat you're actually just burning a hole in the water. So the back of the boat is like, if you ever put it in slow-mo, the back of the boat actually is sinking down into the water, which gives you your launch angle. And then once it grabs and bites, that's when it starts to load down. And then as the boat comes down and it's landing nose and over, it'll bite, dig in, and then you start the run. So it's you play with that. I mean, it's very, very short. Depends on the boat and how much power and all that kind of thing. But like for when we started in Pro Mod, you're talking about half a second is that little gap of when it comes up and noses over. And you can change so much in the attitude of the boat and how it's reacting and how it's nosing over and how quick, you're up to speed off that first, till you hit that start line deal at 100.
So yeah, you were telling me you don't like drag racing. It's from a standing start. You guys explain that. You said you have a commitment line. So you kind of like, it's a rolling start. Like they do, what is that one? Do they do that Texas 2K something? It's a rolling start. I just hit the microphone. A rolling start thing.
Yes.
It's kind of like that. How far is that little, where you guys get like that little warm up thing?
So it's really a warm-up. Yeah, I call it a commitment zone. Basically you have a hold rope because of course you can't keep a boat dead still. So because we're out there just floating, which is kind of one of the other aspects of drag boat racing versus a car. Because, once you get your car staged in the lane, you're staged in the lane. There's nothing else to worry about other than the light. For our deal, when you're holding on to the hold rope, there's a countdown clock and you have a number that you let go of the rope and close the lid. And once you close the lid and let go of the rope, that's it. If your boat's pointed towards the stands, you better figure out how you're going to get it straight quickly, right? But the problem is for your ET, it's almost like two races. So from the hold rope to the start beam is 125 feet. And then from the start beam to the end of the race is 1,000 feet. So the way that it works though, if you want to hit that, let's say it's 40 miles an hour that you're hitting the start beam at, right? Or 20 miles an hour, whatever the speed is. If you hit it at 20 miles an hour at the start beam, well, if you end up not having the boat straight in and out of the throttle and you hit it at 15 miles an hour, that kills your speed and your elapsed time for your whole run. So it really messes up your whole run. So basically once you let go of the rope and you're getting ready to go, it's either all in or all out. And of course, the way the countdown works is, everybody has a number that they launch on, right? So it's going to be, each number is up for half a second. So it starts out at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and it goes down. And each number, it's digital clock, so each number is up for half a second. So 10 is up for half a second, 9's up for half a second, so on and so forth. So like for me, in the boat that I'm running now, I launch at the end of 5. So once you launch, you've got to hit that start beam at 0. If the 1 is still up, it's going to be a red light. And if it's after that, then you're just giving the other guy an advantage. So it's very difficult because you're floating. So you can, if there's a current, if there's wind, if there's a lot of things to move the boat around after you let go of the rope. So a lot of times if it's really windy, you'll see guys hang on to the rope longer. That way they're not being pushed around, a little bit more accurate on their light. But when you commit with that commitment zone, it's got to be all in or all out. There's not if you pedal it or anything else, it'll kill your ET for your whole run. So it's pretty crucial, that first little 125 foot.
We're learning a lot tonight.
I am. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's a very different way of drag racing. I mean, it's funny, the first time that I ran the top fuel boat, they said, just put it down the middle of the track. So of course, up to this time, the Pro Mod that we were running, the blown alcohol Hemi that we were running, it was a single prop. So top fuel is twin prop. So there's 2 propellers, they counter rotate. And you need that for 2 reasons. One is one prop doesn't have the it doesn't have the strength to hang on and really keep it together, because the prop walk is so hard whenever you first hit the gas that the boat's going to want to just go hard right. One. And two is they break ears off all the time. So for safety reasons, everybody had to go for top fuel. They have to be twin propeller. So they said, just put it down the middle of the track. Well, up to this point, everything that I'd been doing, you aim the boat a little bit to the left for torque steer, and the prop wash, trying to move the boat to the right off the hit. So I had the boat aimed a little bit to the left. Well, with twin props, it goes dead straight. So wherever you're aiming at is 100% where you're going. And the steering wheel is only there for looks. I can promise you. You can take that out and it would do no different going down the track. So I had the boat aimed a little bit left, and they said, just put it down the middle of the track. Well, I went down dead center of the track and hit the beams, the cone, the buoys, and everything. Then I came back in, and they said, everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, I had a little left. I said, it was all good. And they were like, man, you hit all those buoys. I was like, you told me to go to the middle of the track. They said, well, we meant the middle of your lane. I was like, you got to be more specific. You can't tell me just the middle. But that was my first experience in Top Fuel. And I think.
So how long did you run the alcohol boat?
So I ran my first full season in 2015, and then I didn't start running Top Fuel until 2016 is when I got licensed for Top Fuel.
How did you do in the series and stuff with racing alcohol?
So good. So 2015 so I got licensed in one race in 2014. 2015 was the first full season. We finished 7th in points. And then
we're 7 again.
I know it was a bad number until 2016. We got over that. And then 16 we ended up winning the championship in Pro Mod. And then also getting licensed in Top Fuel that same year. We only ran 2 races in Top Fuel that year. And then 17, we only ran 2 races in Top Fuel. But we moved.
How much bigger, like, commitment, and obviously the fuel's a lot more money, we have friends that do Nitro nostalgia cars.
Yep.
And then they have their kid runs a 7.0 UDRL alcohol. He's on alcohol injected Hemi 7.0 dial in. How big is the jump to go, oh man, we're just going to do Nitro? And what was you thinking? Why did you want to go Nitro? Because that Nitro on water just is mind blowing to me.
So one of the guys that was actually friends of Gary's had the Top Fuel team, and that's kind of how we got into running Top. He already had the team and stuff. He needed a partner, and so we teamed up with him for a little bit, and for those 3 years basically. Well, a little bit more. I guess it was almost 6 years we teamed up with them total, but we only ran, I think we ran 16, 17, 18, and then 22, we ran one race. But we just got started in that. He wanted me to run it in 2015. I'm like, hey, let me get a full season of Pro Mod under my belt. Like, I'm just getting used to this before we go, well over. Because Pro Mod is the, so there's Pro Mod and Pro Outlaw. So as far as like classes go, Pro Mod is it's a 560 index in 1,000 feet. So 5.6 seconds. It's about 165 miles an hour in 1,000 foot. And we were running, of course, the blown alcohol deal. And then we won the championship at 16, stepped up in 17 to Pro Outlaw, which is a 520 class for 1,000 feet. So it's about 175. And then we won the champion. It was like an every other year thing. And in 2018, we won the championship in Pro Outlaw. And I think we finished like 5th or something in 2017. So, and then, but when we started running Top Fuel, it was just a very different, it was a very different ball game. I mean, you could almost run almost a full season out of the bottom ends and everything on the Pro Mod, Pro Outlaw side for the alcohol motors. And the Top Fuel deal is just like Top Fuel NHRA. I mean, it's just putting it in a boat versus a car. I mean, we're running one lap and tearing it all down, and you've got to have your racks of pistons set up. And like,
how long do you get a turnaround?
Our guys were really, really good. We could do it in just over an hour, about an hour, 15 minutes.
Well, we could. Yeah. So awful lot like it's like that for drag racing, isn't it? Or was it 45 minutes or something like that? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it used to be like an hour and a half, I think, when they stepped it up. But yeah. So how far down do you take it in between rounds?
So basically the only thing that stays together, the crank stays in, mags and cam stays in. Outside of that, pretty much everything else comes out and we inspect and put it back together. We got down to a pretty good deal where like if you want to make six laps, you got to have six racks of pistons and rods pre-set up. It's just the amount of work ahead of time before you get to the race was just quite a lot versus the Pro Mod Pro Outlaw deal. And it was nice when it was a ton of fun whenever we ran the fuel boat, but it was also nice whenever you're just running the Pro Mod Pro Outlaw and you're like, I have time in between rounds to actually like do something or go watch somebody else go down the track, because all you're doing with the top fuel boat is just getting it turned around. So we would like lifespan on stuff, we would probably get about 10 passes on rods. Pistons were iffy depending on how hardly we were leaning on it, how many runs we got out of pistons. But like cylinder heads, we were having, instead of doing the valves there at the track, we would have sets of heads pre-set up. So all we had to do is unbolt and bolt on. And it was, some guys said not to do that because your head flow was different, but everything's CNC'd. And I mean, we back-to-backed it and it was almost identical. I mean, we weren't changing anything. And then the blower shop was helping out with all the blower stuff. So, I mean, we would get probably 4 passes on a blower, and then it would start to taper off and lose some of its efficiency. So we would put a fresh blower on there, that kind of thing. So, I mean, going from the alcohol boat where you can get about
it does. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It was a ton of work. So, the guys would come in and the crazy part is, so when we started in fuel, these were all guys that Dad put the team together. These are all guys that we pretty much knew. And some of the guys were just guys that one or two of the guys were guys that were just hanging out at the races that started helping me in the Pro Mod deal in 15. And we're like, hey, do you want to help on a fuel team? Because everybody else that was on a fuel team came from another fuel team or did top fuel or did something right at some point. So all our guys were guys that, the other boat guys really didn't know who they were. And we kind of came out of nowhere and we started doing pretty good. And they were like, they thought all our crew guys were from top fuel NHRA stuff. They were like, they must have got these guys to come in. And they were just guys that we knew how to turn wrenches. And we kind of told them, hey, this is how we want to do it. They didn't really have any bad habits. They had no really habits at all. So the team clicked and worked really, really well. And that we ran for the championship. And so this is kind of a funny story. So in 2018, we were only going to run 2 races, right? Because as far as budget and everything else, we didn't, we weren't really to the point where we could be super competitive with our budget. But if we ran a couple races a year, we could be. And so we ran the first race in 2018. Well, we won it. So like, okay. So we went to the next, we were number 1 qualifier and won, went to the next race. We were number 1 qualifier and won. We're like, well, I guess we're going to go to the rest of them because now we're leading the points. So we're kind of in it now. And we were, I think all
you come right out of the box and won.
Yeah. Right out of 2018 was so we started in 16 with 2 races, 17 and 2 races. And of course, every year we were working on the boat, right? So like, for example, when we started in 16, I started changing a bunch of the stuff inside the capsule so I was comfortable. And that was first year of me just getting comfortable, right? And there was some other things that were wrong with the boat that we had to adjust and fix. And we got those where the boat was working really well. And then 2017, we started to do a lot of lightning. We shaved almost 400 pounds out of this boat. And then so when we came out in 2018, a little bit lighter, quite a lot lighter. And some of the changes that we made, they also changed from 1,000 feet for safety reasons to 875 feet. And that's whenever we set the record, was 875 feet when we set that deal. And they went to 875. That way from the hold rope to the end of the track was a true 1,000 foot was their reason behind it. And that actually helped us because our motor program was a little bit older program as far as like heads and stuff. We didn't have the latest. We were making like 10,000. The other guys were making closer to 11. And so we didn't have the mile an hour on the back end, but we had very, very, really low ETs. And that's just how, I mean, I think the fastest mile an hour I've been is 255, and I think the record is 272 or low 270s. But the ET was 310 when we ran it. So like our 660 was 2.48 seconds in 660. But that was all just from getting the boat lighter.
Wild on water.
Yeah. So where are you racing for the people that are listening that don't follow? I mean, we're not boat people. So
yeah. So
where do you travel to race?
So we go this year. We're going to go. We have Parker, Arizona, St. Angelo, Texas, Wheatland, Missouri, at Lucas Oil Speedway up there. We have Paris, Texas. Trying to think of the other ones. There might be a couple other places that I'll be at, but not running our stuff. But that's what our schedule probably looks like for this year.
So can you go and test this thing?
No. So that's the other.
It's kind of like running. It's like running Bonneville. You can't go and. I mean, allegedly, I have a friend that he lives in Vegas. He's the one that wrecked it. He wrecked his truck and walked away. Luckily, he would go out in the desert outside of Vegas and do not full speeds, but make sure, 100-mile-an-hour runs, pop the chutes, all that type of stuff, clear out in the desert, and hadn't got messed with.
Just throw him under the bus, why don't you?
I didn't say his name, but yeah.
Anyway,
allegedly.
You don't get a guy that does that somewhere. So our deal is very similar. You'll see some guys go to the lake. We've never. I take that back. We did it one time, but I did have a diver. The problem is without the sensor set up and without a track set up, because it's not like nobody has this equipment except for the associations, right? So you can't have. I've got data on the boat, right? So I've got speed, I've got that kind of stuff that I can overlay and see, what we have. But if you don't have, the boats don't sit very high up in the water. So, I mean, there could be a wave come over the back, and I've seen them sink these things. I mean, they sit very low in the water. So, you got to be careful about that. And there's just, if you don't have a diver and something happens, you can't get out of the capsule. It's not a very good idea to do, but I've seen some guys do it. And like I said, we've done it one time, but we did have a diver, but we were fighting on trying to get a boat to work right. And after going to all the tracks and it's not launching like you want, and it's plowing the nose and that, you're going to start getting some ideas to go to the lake. And because all I needed to do was go, 125 feet is all I
And with Nitro, like you said, it's expensive to test too.
Yeah. The A fuel stuff that we're running now, the naturally aspirated nitro stuff is actually, I think that's actually easier than when we were running the alcohol deal. I mean,
so we were talking about that the other day. So the motor you're running now is essentially you can run like the alcohol dragster classes at drag racing. You can run injected, non-blown nitro.
Yep.
And then somebody just they've been tested and they ran it again, I think Sunday after we were talking to you, I thought I seen, or they qualified it something. The first team is putting it in a funny car for the first time, alcohol injected, non-blown nitro.
Yep. So top alcohol dragster. So this is it's a funny story deal with. So of course, earlier I was saying Andy Bowl, I got his motor programs. That's a top alcohol funny car, right? Mm-hmm. So 3 years ago almost now, I started looking around and I was like, man, in top alcohol dragster, the nitro dominates. And dragsters are a lot like our hydros, right? So the concept is kind of similar as far as how the boats handle versus like a dragster and you can like if you put the power to it, it'll take it, especially with the outrigger style that we're running now. And so I went to Randy Meyer, which he also he took a injected alcohol funny car down there as well, down to Gainesville. Mm-hmm. It was him and I can't remember the other guy's name. I thought it started with a B.
Tony Bartone?
Bartone, yep. Yeah. So I know they were both down there. Randy's still working on his, but he said he's getting pretty close. But it's funny because I called through NGK Spark Plugs. I got to meet Randy Meyer and stuff, and I called him and I said, hey, I'm thinking about putting an injected alcohol or, injected fuel deal in a boat. And some guys have tried it in the past and nobody has ever been successful. Nobody ever made a clean pass down the track. No, I mean, most of everybody didn't even make it down the track. They either hurt something or the boat crashed partway down. So when I was talking to him, he's like, why do you want to, he was like, just everybody is already running screw blown alcohol deals. Just run that. And Randy was almost trying to talk me out of it, because I already had, I had Andy's notes already set up and I already had those motors and all that. Mm-hmm. But our problem was a couple things. One is the amount of laps you get out of the motors. I mean, they're making under 20 passes and they're changing everything because they're turning them almost 11 grand. Right. So, mm-hmm. I mean, it just doesn't last that long. So the bottom end stuff doesn't last. The valve springs don't last, and the 2-speeds don't last. I mean, they're going through them every other night. So I was looking at all the headaches and all the stuff, and I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way to do this. And we're the only ones running it and the only ones to successfully run it. And so in 2023, I talked to Randy finally long enough and convinced him that he wasn't going to change my mind. And I'm like, I'm stubborn. I'm like, we're going to try this, even if it's a complete flop, but I want to give it a go. And so we tried it with the boat was already set up. Now, this is the Pro Mod boat that we had originally built. That's the Georgia Outlaw boat is the name mm-hmm. of it. And I wanted to try it with a single prop. So we tried all of 23 with a single prop. And I know Nitro likes load, but I didn't know if the extra weight from the twin props and the W drive was going to hurt it, right, for speed and that kind of thing. So I wanted to make sure before I went and started drilling 2 other holes in the bottom of the floor of the boat that this was the direction we wanted to go. Well, through a lot of aggravation and headaches, and we finally did learn that when we put a really big gear and a really big prop, it broke a lot of stuff in the drivetrain, and I was pumped. Mom was like, why are you so happy? You broke a bunch of stuff. I'm like, yeah, but this is drivetrain stuff. This is good. This means we have power, right? It's there. And so in the beginning of the last year, we ended up, we went with twin props, set it all up, and we were trying to do a Linko clutch. So like I was saying earlier, the way our clutch stuff works in the boats is it's just like a crash box, right? So there's no slipping. It's just in and out of gear because we use the propeller as mm-hmm. as the slip, right? The problem is we were running such a big gear and such a big propeller that when you would put it into gear, especially on Nitro with running, 50, 60 degrees of timing, it would actually stall the motor putting it in gear with that much load on it. It didn't matter mm-hmm. how much fuel or anything you did. So after we figured out it wanted load, and then we were trying some stuff with the clutch, we went to a standard dry clutch like Top Fuel runs, like we were running on the fuel boat. I just didn't want to go to that for weight purposes at the time as well. And then we swapped twin props. And then once we did that, we got out there, and man, it was night and day difference. And every race we went to last year, we were like a tenth faster and a tenth faster and a tenth faster. So we started out running, in top alcohol hydro, so for everybody that's listening, the classes are top fuel hydro, which is, just like top fuel dragster. And the next class down is top alcohol hydro, which is very similar to top alcohol dragster. And both of those classes are unlimited as fast as you can run. So I had to back it up just a little bit. I had to actually call the series and ask them ahead of time. I said, hey, can I run, Nitro? And they're like, well, I don't think you can. And there's in the whole rule book, I had to skim the whole rule book to find there's one line that says one propeller can have 80% nitro, 2 propellers can have 90% nitro. That is the only rules in the rule book for anything for injected nitro, because nobody's run it. And the last person to successfully run it, I went back and looked, was I think Eddie Hill back in the 70s.
Oh wow!
He ran like 177 miles an hour.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know he was a boat racer before he went drag racing, wasn't he?
Yep. Yeah. Then he had one deal out in, I think it was Phoenix, and the boat got sideways and did a bad hop, and after that he was like he never set foot in a boat again. He said he was done with it because he didn't know why it did it, which I can't blame him. But we ended up at the last race this year, we ended up running we finally got down to So like the leader, like Marty Logan and Rick Allen are the two main guys that have been winning the last couple years. They've been up top, and they're running 4.2, 4.3 second elapsed times. And we got down at the last race. We ran a 4:38 at 196 miles an hour. So every race we went like a tenth quicker and a tenth quicker and a tenth quicker. And we're really, really close, but we're the only one doing it. And I think there's a lot of potential left in the thing. You know, we're still, like we were talking about propellers. I mean, we took like a less than a quarter of an inch off the propellers and picked up like 8 mile an hour on the back end.
Oh, wow.
And didn't hurt our 660, right? So there's a lot of stuff with props that a little bit goes a long way, but you've got to find the right prop. So, I mean, between the propeller, there's still a lot of fuel mapping stuff that I'm still playing with, and a lot of load stuff that I'm playing with. But I will say the injected nitro versus top fuel is, man, it's like twice as hard to tune. Because nitro likes load. So if you lose that load, it just puts cylinders out, right? So you have to have, like, everything that you know about tuning anything else, just throw it all out the window and starting all over. So you want to put as much fuel you can in it, but keep it lit. So if you don't keep it lit, it, just puts holes out. And I mean, when it does, it falls on its face. So when you're tuning this with a supercharger on top of it, and the as the motor will rev up some, it'll make more boost, right? So it'll help keep it lit. When you don't have that, if the props slip or come out of the water or do anything weird or hop, you immediately will put holes out, because there's nothing else to help keep it lit. It's just, so your window went from about this big to about that big. And that's what this year has been, is just trying to find the right tune up and trying to get the right props and the right setup on it. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, and I like a challenge. And of course, there's nobody else that we can talk to. We talked to Randy, I talked to Randy quite a lot, and Myers helped me get a good baseline, at least where we're at now. But even with their setup to our setup, the loads are just completely different. We have to have it all at the hit, where they're trying to pull it at the hit, and then they put all theirs as they get it hooked up. Mine's kind of the opposite. We're trying to put it all in at the hit, and then we start pulling it out because we need to keep it lit as it frees up going down the track. So it's been a chore, but the crew guys stayed with us even whenever we didn't even. I mean, there were the last two races of 23. We didn't even make it off the line. We went to the water like 6 times and didn't even go anywhere. Just all out. You're like, okay. So, but nobody quit. So that was a good deal for the team.
I can see where that would be very frustrating.
Yeah, especially hauling it. It's not like you're at your local, little way. You might be halfway across country and that happens.
Yeah. Well, the last 2 races were.
How quiet is to drive home when that happens?
It's pretty quiet. I normally by that time I'm exhausted with trying to rack my brain with what's going on. I normally pass out, and the dad drives, and then we just swap off, and there's not a lot of I take the wheel and we swap seats kind of thing while we're going down the road. Not a lot of conversation. But yeah, I think the best one as far as the ride home goes was in 2018 we had to race out in Bakersfield, California. From Atlanta to Bakersfield, California, you cannot get there. There is, I think it was 46 hours one way. And the only thing that I could think whenever we were getting close to the race, I was like, do not lose first round. Do not lose first round. Like, I didn't go all this way to lose first round. So thankfully we did win it. So it was a good drive home, because that was the longest drive home. But I was like, man, if we lose first round, this is going to be a rough ride back.
Yeah. Yeah, so, that's a long one.
So we talked the other day. So the race series, it's kind of changed, right? You said Lucas used to run the series, and they've kind of pulled back a little bit.
Yeah. So when I started in 2014, I think Lucas got involved 2008, maybe, could be before that. They came on as just a sponsor with IHBA, which was International Hot Boat Association. That was the main touring, kind of like NASCAR, right? Well, Lucas wanted to run and own the series itself. So in around 2010, I believe, they ended up basically owning and buying the series outright. So they were title sponsors, association, sanctioning body. They were everything. And they did a really, really good job of help putting drag boat racing on the map between MAV TV and everything else that they did. They did a very, very good job of it. They had some management issues, if you will. And long story short, in 2018, they pulled out of drag boat racing altogether. And when it did, it kind of left it in there were still divisional races, right? So there was almost like, how drag racing will have like tracks. Kind of they had Kentucky Drag Boat Association. They had SDBA, which is Southern Drag Boat Association. They had the divisional races that are pockets, like Kentucky's kind of East Coast. SDBA is kind of Texas, Oklahoma area based. ADBA is out in Arizona. And then they have NJBA, which is out in California, and then CDBA up in Washington and Oregon. So once they pulled out, it kind of left it in almost a divisional state, right? So like right now there's KDBA, SDBA. We don't have a true quote unquote national series anymore after that happened. They came back in and they, like MAV TV still televises the races. They still, like we still get good TV time and all that kind of stuff, but the racing and who comes to each races is a little bit different, but overall, as far as drag boat racing goes in itself, if you look at if the overall deal of it is you actually have more boats now than we had when Lucas was running. They're just dispersed between all the associations, right? Like it's probably, I wouldn't say it's doubled, but there's a good probably another third of the boats, but they're just in each pocket of we travel, we kind of run some of all of their races. We try to run ADBA, SDBA, KDBA. We haven't gone back out to NJBA, but Bakersfield was a long haul
So how many races do you do in a normal season?
Somewhere between 8 to 10, depending on the year. Just depends how many races and what we have.
When does your season start to get out there now this year?
So we start
as we interview him, I guess. So if you listen to this 2 years later down the road, it's first week of March 2025 right now. So
right. Yeah, so we'll start in we normally start in May of June of every year, and it normally goes until about October, November, depending on the schedule. But the first race is out in Paris, Texas, and it's May 14th, I believe, that weekend.
I wish you had one. I don't want to go clear to Texas, but I'd love to go to a boat race in person. I think that would be really...
You said Kentucky, right?
Oh, you do one in Kentucky?
No, it's called Kentucky Drag Boat Association, but we run in Missouri at Wheatland. Oh. If there's a race to go to, and I'm not one's better than the other by any means, but for us, I think the closest one is Wheatland, Missouri. Mm-hmm. It'd be probably the same for you guys, but the track that when Lucas built that speedway up there, mm-hmm. that is one of the nicest facilities, especially for drag boat racing. The show is quick. For spectators, it's nice. They even stock the ponds. I mean, so you can go fishing after the boat races is over. And they normally will couple the boat races with dirt tracks. So if you that weekend, like that Saturday night, you can go watch the dirt track car races after the boat racing deal. So
yeah. So Carrie's company that she works for, they run the Optima battery rigs and they used to go to a lot to that location.
I was supposed to go there. I think it was probably COVID when everything got canceled, because I was supposed to go work the rig that out there, and something happened and it got canceled. But yeah,
it's a nice track though. It is in the middle of nowhere, but
I've heard a lot about it.
And you're running that cool injected nitro boat. That's your boat for the season.
Yep. We'll be campaigning that one again, and hopefully
that was one of the motors that was still apart in the race shop. Is that to be clear? It was still apart.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, everything's still apart. All of them are still apart. It was funny because today, SDBA, Southern Drag Boat Association, posted a deal in 72 days before the first race. I was like, oh, do not put it like that way. We still have everything in pieces. It's just
slight panic attack. It's okay.
Tyler tried to get you to sit in it too, and you wouldn't do that either.
He giggled when he said that. Want to sit in it? I think he wanted to butter me up, because you'd have to butter me up to get me in and out of there.
You could fit in there. I mean, Forrest is probably about your size. You might be maybe a little taller, but you guys are probably about the same size.
You tried to give me an XL T-shirt. I'm a double X.
Well,
I
didn't hear the
I've
double.
never tried to sit in their drag cars, but I can sit in their land speed cars. But Brian
just,
Hope is about the same size as me, a little skinnier, but same height. So,
well,
with all this, are you obviously you're a boat guy because you run a boat shop too, very big. That's the first time I went there this last Saturday, and very impressive place you guys have.
So wait, so funny thing is, as we're going there, Tim has the address. He puts it into his phone, and of course we get lost. And we drive by, and I go, "Well, there's a boat place." He goes, "Well, that's not where they're at." I'm like,
well, that's not where the GPS was taking me, because it was taking it like around the corner or something. But
yeah, we had to call you.
It's a lake community, so there was a lot of marine activity around. So, and it was like I've known him for I don't know how long. I didn't even know the name of the boat shop. So,
right, it was very people-y in your area.
Yeah, it's very people-y. Yeah,
it was a common thread was people-y.
Yeah.
Very people-y.
It was very
so
people-y.
Have you ever thought, especially with talking to the Myers and everything, like, oh, I want to go down the drag strip? You ever thought about that?
Oh yeah, no, we've talked about it, and it's gone back and forth. Andy Bowles actually working on some stuff, and he wants to get into some. I don't know if he gets into anything. He sold all of his Top Alcohol funny car deal, so we've been talking at length. And if he gets into something, it'll be a big show funny car deal. So we may end up doing something with him. I mean, you never know. It was after we ran Top Fuel. One of the girls on the team, she goes, "What are you going to do next?" I'm like, "I don't know, airplane racing. I mean, whatever falls in the next category. I mean, I'm not anything I'm down for." So. You never know. Don't ever count it out. We'll see what shakes out and what happens. But I definitely have. I mean, I've helped. First time I went to help Randy to find out about injected nitro stuff. I thought I was just gonna be hanging out for the day, and he was like, "You want to do left side of the head?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever you need, I'll be there." And so see, I was left head for Julie when she was running in 22, 23. So yeah, I mean, I'm always down for any kind of.
That's a good program. They've won a few championships, haven't they?
Yeah, he's got a room that's God. I think it's bigger than my shop, full of nothing but trophies. I think so. Yeah, he's won quite a lot. So he's been really, really nice, really, really helpful. I mean, there's been so much stuff, and every time I call him, I just get called the boat boy. So when he hits the boat boy, and I was like, "Hey," but he's been a huge help on trying to get this thing down the track, and it's just it's been a challenge, but we've won 3 pro mod championships, 1 pro outlaw championship, runnered up once in pro outlaw, runnered up in Top Fuel as far as championships go, and we wanted something else that was a different challenge, especially without running the fuel boat stuff for right now. I mean, I think fuel boats will make a comeback, but there's just not that many of them in the country. I mean, even when Lucas was around, that was kind of the last height of it. It was probably 7 of them, 8 of them in the country is really all that there was. So there's not a lot of crazy people. I guess that there's a lot of people that want to do it, but not a lot of people that I guess that get the opportunity. So I've been super fortunate to be able to do it, and if it makes a comeback, the nice part is our boat is already set up for pretty. I mean, all I've got to do is make some changes, and we could run it. So it's been it's been a pretty neat deal, and so we'll see if Top Fuel comes back, and if it does, then we're still playing with Nitro. And the cool part is for the fans, when Top Fuel isn't there, they can at least get the smell of Nitro and some of the sounds of it with our A Fuel deal anyway.
If you don't understand what he just said, you need to go see some Nitro someplace. Even if it's a nostalgia drag race, Nitro will clean out any problems you have with your sinuses.
Yes.
If you try to stand as close as you can at an NHRA event when they fire them up and do the warm-ups, you cry, and it's like you're trying to swallow razor blades at the same time.
It's wonderful. Make it sound like a delight. Yeah, that's
If you ever get the chance to stand I've got to stand on the starting line with 2 Nitro cars. You can't focus because your eyeballs jump up and down in your head. Yeah, Nitro is so with the expense of everything. Explain how you get your Nitro, because our friends that do Nitro Nostalgia, was there 2 or 3 places that you have to go to, and that's it? Because of the whole world changed after the Oklahoma City thing, right? Bombing because they got Nitro. So then now it's on a terrorist watch list thing, correct?
Yep. Yeah. So whenever the Oklahoma
So do you
City
think your office is bugged?
Yeah, by now, I'm sure it is. It's got to be. When the Oklahoma City bombing happened, he used there was fertilizer, nitro, and that was one of the nitro won't just light. It's got to be compressed and basically ticked off in order to ignite, right? So, with what with what we do on the top fuel and the A fuel side, you have to have a number through Homeland Security. A lot of times, if you buy it at the track, VP or I think Sunoco, some of those Torco, they'll have their number, and that's what they use for Homeland Security. But you can't.
Torco still around?
What's that?
Is Torco still around?
I am not 100% sure. We're a VP dealer, so I
don't think Torco's still around anymore. I think he was racing Pro Mod and stuff and sponsoring a bunch of stuff. I think allegedly he did something sketchy. I don't think Torco's around anymore.
Okay. Well, they were at, I guess it was, back in 2018 they were around back then.
Yeah.
They were the ones at the track setting up Nitro for us, but we've run VP and we're a dealer for them, so that's what we've always gotten ours. But we were one of the only ones to have our Homeland Security number, because you can't have but I think it's 42 gallons is the max you're supposed to have on hand.
Yeah, I know our Nitro guy that lives close to us that does the nostalgia stuff. He has a Homeland Security
number
thing, so they can keep enough on it, because they also help a few cackle cars and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, and as anybody that deals with Nitro knows, you're trying to use all the Nitro you can use, so you've got to have a lot more than 42 gallons.
So this is another 2-part question.
Yeah,
that's how my brain works. How much is a barrel of Nitro currently?
So I don't know how much a barrel is, because we buy them. We'll buy them in 50 or 5-gallon pails just because they're easier for our trailer deal. But I want to say it was close to $60 a gallon is what it cost.
When you go racing on a weekend, how many gallons do you go through?
So every pass, after every warm up and pass, we probably are burning about 8 gallons. So, and we probably make, I don't know, we make anywhere from, we probably make anywhere from 6 to, depends how many boats and how many qualifying rounds and how many days it is, but anywhere from 6 to 10 rounds of laps. So it adds up quick, but it is still cheaper than a tire bill. I can promise you that. The tire bills on the ARCA deal was nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Nitro deal, and there's only 2 places that make it, and they're in China. Because basically Nitro is just an acid.
Oh, so with the tariffs, it's going to get more expensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you stock up when you knew that?
Yeah, we did actually. Yeah, we got some. So, but yeah, it's there was 3 places, and one of them shut down. And it's funny because you know who the biggest buyer of Nitro is? It is not racers. It is the government for cleaning solutions.
Really?
Yep. They're the number 1 buyer of nitromethane.
Yeah, you're off.
Yeah.
Hello, FBI agent listening to the podcast.
Oh no, they've been tuning in a long time ago.
Tuning in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when they knew I was coming to buy this laptop, they already bugged it. But yeah, I mean the Nitro deal, the top fuel stuff, we were running, we were burning about 18 to 20 gallons a lap.
Wow.
So yeah, we the fuel line's a little over 2. I think it's 2 1/4 inches around. Is the fuel line size? So I mean, it's similar to same as top fuel on the car.
So do you run 2 distributors?
Yep, 2 mags. The fuel pump that we're running, that's like a 50 gallon on the injected nitro on the A fuel, and the top fuel was I want to say it was about 105 gallon a minute pump. So they're the first time you start looking at it and you start playing with it, you're like, this thing really shouldn't run. It should, it really should shut itself off with all the fuel and what we're dumping down it. But thankfully we didn't.
Well, the fuel line is the size of basically 3 garden hoses.
Yep.
3 or 4 garden hoses. That's crazy.
Yeah, and wide open. It's the pressures and everything else, and it's nuts. The whole thing is, and I mean, I'm working on it, and I still think.
She's trying to see something. Hold on.
She's searching something. She has a question or something she wants to show. So, how long has Pro Boat been in operation?
Dad started it, I believe, in mid 80s is when he started, and he actually started it for. He was just a distributor for jet drive parts, jet boat parts. And that turned into, he started working on some people's boats. And then behind the house where you guys were, there was like 30 something boats in the backyard. It didn't look exactly like that back in the day, but there was like 30 something boats in the backyard. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to have to move somewhere else to a different shop. So, and then 97, 98, we moved in over here. And then we've been at this building. We've outgrown this building too, but it's a lot to move. So
yeah, talking to your dad the other day, he's like, man, I wish I would have kept a tally because his customers have won a lot of events and championships and stuff. And he goes, man, I used to keep lists, but that's a good sign of success when you can't remember the wins.
Yeah, there's been, I mean, like when we're at the track every weekend, there's probably, I'd say there's at least 10 to 15 boats that we've built, and then there's probably another handful of them that we help, right? So there's a bunch of guys that, and a lot of the racing community is that way, right? I mean, a lot of people help each other out, and it's a pretty neat deal that way. I mean, I've had to loan some of my competitors some parts and pieces. I mean, I'm not that guy that wants to go up to the ramp and because he couldn't make the call. I'd rather help. If he can make the call and help him make the call, then I want to beat him fair and square and not
What do you find over there?
I just have to bring this to everybody's attention because we've talked multiple times about when we met you in 2018.
Are you looking up go-kart times?
Yeah. So it was at Atlanta Motorsports Park. It's a go-kart track. And we always gave you a hard time because you race on water. So that is why.
So let's back up a little bit. So we're for Industrial Depot that we mentioned at the beginning. They did this racer day at Atlanta Motorsports Park. The Industrial Depot location wasn't far down the road, and Jet Industrial Equipment. So you got invited, and people need to Google the Atlanta Motorsports Park, the AMP. It's like the private club place, and you can go ride go-karts there. The carts that we were on go like 55 mile an hour. They shift their carts, go, what did they say, 125 or something out there?
Yeah, they haul.
This is totally like a Formula One track for go-karts. Properly built. I don't know how long one lap is. The red and white ribbed chicanes, the countdown signs for practice, and it's absolutely the most incredible go-kart track I've ever seen. And we go there, and it's raining, and we go. So the deal was, Industrial Depot got together, and Jet invited partners. So it was us at Strange Motion, and bring a team. The Pro Boat guys and Tyler bring a team. It was Brian Fuller, he's from Atlanta, and bring a team. And there was 2 other teams. Wasn't there 5 teams?
There was, no, I think there was 4. The other one was TC's team, wasn't it?
Yeah. TC's the hot rod builder guy down there, which he used to work for Bill Elliott's team.
Okay.
Yeah, TC worked for Bill Elliott's, right? Yeah. And so we go, and it's raining, and the full bodies on these. I'm not a really go-kart professional racer, and didn't really realize.
We didn't know at the time that you were.
Yeah. And
now we're learning this.
There's no front brakes on these things, and it's raining, and we go into that first corner, and it's down in a sharp turn. It's Mario Kart to everywhere. We're spinning, and Chelsea we're all screaming, and it took us a while to get the hang of the rain.
Yeah.
But so then through Industrial Depot and Jet, fastest team got a piece of equipment for the shop, and the team got a bandsaw, I think, and fastest individual time got something else.
Got tool or bolt bin.
No. And did your team and you get both of those?
No. Fuller had an arsenal of a team, and so I mean, he had like 8 guys there or something. So it was like.
So we had a ringer. Not going to mention his name. Somebody that Carrie used to work with. This is a guy that one year was partying at the Indy 500 in the snake pit, and then posted. He goes, "Holy crap! I wasn't paying attention. One of my ex-teammates just won the Indy 500. He used to be on a traveling go-kart team with a semi with Alexander Rossi."
Dang.
That was our ringer. We were bringing it in. And he was coming from Indy. We bought him a flight to bring in a ringer.
Oh, man.
We got too drunk the night before and missed his flight, so we didn't have our ringer with us. That's allegedly why Alexander Rossi has made it farther in a racing career than this guy. So, yeah.
But what I want to bring to everybody's attention, I have not looked at this for many, many years. But I have a picture, and you're not going to be able to see it very well. But I will post it because Tyler won fastest time.
But we thought he cheated. We didn't know about all the car racing history. We thought he was only the fastest because it was wet and he was a water racer. So
this lists the top 12. Okay? Your dad was 12th.
Wow.
Okay. Chelsea, which was on our team, was 9th.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot Phil Cato, the interior guy.
Phil Cato was 8th. Tim's name is not on here.
No, you can see the go-karts are all the same. And I'm like 80 pounds heavier than everybody else, so obviously I'm slower.
The one that they made fun of the entire time, I'm 6th.
Man.
6th.
I thought you were higher than that.
6th. I will take that as a huge win. Yeah. I need to post that because
I don't even know who second and third are. That looks like made-up names.
The more you start talking about these, like me and this story, you make it sound like I was just this little putting girl out there going around. I was 6th. You're not even listed.
You were 4 seconds behind Tyler. But this track, it was over, isn't it like 2 miles long?
It's a pretty long track.
It's a long track.
Done that day. It was the longest
so
day
on the way home, I mean, this track you can go and take driving classes, and there's coaches there. When we finally got the hang of it, I thought we were doing pretty good. And the guy that works there and drives go-karts every day, he lapped all of us.
Yeah.
And almost, I could see him behind me almost 2 times. Like he was just like, he goes, "Don't feel bad. I'm the coach, you know." But we're on the way home. Me and Chelsea and Carrie were all in the same truck, and me and Chelsea's talking about looking and learning because you can take classes there of the countdown zones and the brakings and the apexes. It's got all these signs around to learn driving. And me and Chelsea's talking for like 15 minutes. Oh, yeah, and turn whatever, that one with the hill in the blind corner, if you really did that. And, yeah, if you missed, you went spinning. And finally Carrie goes, "What the hell are you guys talking about? Where were the signs at?" And we're like, "They're all over the side in the grass, like right at the edge of the track, so you could see them, or like hanging on, not so you'd hit a pole." But she's like, "How did you have time to look around? I'm driving the go-kart."
Not 6. Imagine
if she would have paid attention to it, she'd at least been a couple more positions higher if she would have been paid attention to all that.
Definitely.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'm like so stoked right now.
I know Tom is in Industrial Depot. That Tom, if you're listening to this, I'm going to send it to him so he listens. You need to get the go-kart day back together again. We don't care if there's prizes. We just want to come do that again. I think that would be a blast.
That was an awesome time. I just remember some of the guys at Fuller, they were walking around and they were talking all kinds of smack. I mean, all kinds of smack.
Yeah. Jackson Kahn, that's when we met Jackson Kahn. He's been on a couple TV shows since. And I remember he's married now and Chelsea's engaged. But this was, I don't know when this was. It was before COVID.
It was November 29th, 2018.
Has it been that long now?
Yeah.
I remember Jackson Kahn, he was just like, Jackson, he's a good-looking dude. And he just walked up to Chelsea, good-looking girl. He's like, "Hey, didn't he say, could I call you sometime? Or can I give you a call something?" We're all just laughing and hanging out. And, like, Chelsea's super rad, just having fun with everybody. And he's thinking, like, she's warming up to him. And it's like, "Could I give you a call sometime?" No.
No,
just having a breath. Just shutting down. He just looked at us, and we just all started laughing. And he's just like, "I'm just gonna go sit over here now."
Yeah, that was awesome.
Good
that
times.
Was so much fun.
It was a blast, man.
Yep.
And the rain made it a whole nother level of fun. As the rain started to wear off and the track started to dry, you started getting faster and faster and faster.
I still was not in the top 12.
No, you were not. I got sick. I can't even remember that. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, you were catching a lot of flack for that. Not gonna lie.
I know. I had for the last 8 years, I've caught a lot of crap off of that. I was 6th.
But I mean, being a BMXer, you kind of still cornering to take the, how you. So that was my. Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing is I think Tim wants a rematch. I think he wants.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm on a heavy diet right now, so give me about 6 months. Maybe.
Hey, I got a shirt in 6 months. If you can fit into, there's your goal. Got you covered.
See, that's what she said. She goes, well, don't ask for another size. Maybe you'll get into. She goes,
it's not gonna be long.
No, she goes, you'll get back to that. And I went, back to junior high? Because I was an XL in junior high. So I was always tall. I was like 6 foot in junior high. So
I'll get you a bigger shirt just in case.
Okay.
Or unless you want a muscle shirt when you come out to the go-kart.
I do not want a muscle shirt.
Oh.
You can't rock that?
No, and neither should anybody.
Farm boys.
I suppose maybe if you're at the water, it's almost like being at the beach. So maybe that's why. But
there you go.
In our 31 years of having T-shirts for Strange Motion, we have never done a muscle shirt. We've done some girls' tank tops. We've done some girls' thongs and booty shorts.
Some guys have cut their sleeves off.
Randy Stewart has definitely cut his sleeves off. Yeah.
But we haven't intentionally made them that way.
Yeah.
We have a couple guys on the team, and after they get a little bit of nitro and oil, nitro 70 on them a few times, they cut the sleeves off. They don't make it normally the weekend without the sleeves.
Yeah. So Tyler, I do have to say, when we first met you, I was afraid to get to know you.
Oh, why was that?
That's his new story to me, right?
No, I'll know. You know what I'm going. You'll know it here in a minute. But we had a good friend that used to race boats.
Oh, yeah.
And 2009,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had passed away, and to me, boat racing was very scary.
So he was. I forget. He lived up Seattle area.
Yeah.
He raced the local club, and whatever it was, he was going fast enough. All of his friends says, you need to have a capsule.
Yeah.
And the first time everybody chipped in and helped him afford a capsule. And the first time out with a capsule, the boat crashed and he never got out of the capsule.
Yeah. I mean, I will say a lot of it. And even since, even the late 2000s, I mean, the capsule stuff, I feel like has come a long way. And not only that, but even like some of the safety gear and stuff. Like I try to go swimming with all my stuff and everything every year. I mean, I won't lie. The first time I got in to do a dunk test where they, to get licensed to even run a capsule boat, they kind of flip you over and you have your oxygen breathing system. And the first time I did it, my system did not work. And so we had to modify it. And I have another helmet and stuff, and it worked. And but that was just getting used to all of it. And ever since then, I mean, I try. I mean, anything can happen in racing and with anything, right? I mean, it's just part of the nature. And
anything can happen on the way to work tomorrow.
It is, and that's one of the things. And I don't want to make this into a down. But I just want to say, like, we were really like, oh my god, you don't want to go down that path again.
But the safety, even since then, when Ryan passed, like my buddy, we talked about the Land Speed Racer. He lost it and wrecked it at El Mirage and ended end to end 3 times and barrel rolled like 5 and went through the lights at 178 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Literally the same weekend that I had my
got
accident.
Up, walked away, refused to go to the hospital, had a mark. He goes home back to Vegas and his wife's like, you really should go to the doctor to get checked out. And he goes, my back actually feels better. The safety and they went in and he's like, so why are you here? And he goes, well, I wrecked my truck. And he goes, you don't look bad. So they showed him a video and they're like, holy crap. So then they scanned everything and
they went all
like a bruise and he had no broken bones, walked away. Like it was the weekend after or 2 weeks after
it was the weekend
she
after.
wrecked her bicycle got 3 ribs, bruised lung, broken finger, nerve damage, and 4 pelvic fractures because you have no safety equipment other than a helmet for BMX. Yeah. She just launched and slammed into a jump. So, yeah, walked away 178 mile an hour.
Jeez. But I'm really glad that we opened our minds and decided to become friends with you because you're awesome and what you do is absolutely awesome. But yeah, it was one of those things where, like, I remember the conversation on the way home was all over the place because they were picking on me and we had so much fun, but we're like, man, we thought you were crazy. Yeah. We thought you were absolutely batshit crazy. Yeah.
Was that the first weekend we met him?
It was.
Was that the go-kart thing?
It was.
Oh, I thought maybe we met him at PRI or something before. But
nope, that was the first time.
I think I've seen you guys at PRI almost every year after that. But
yeah,
I think that was the first time.
Yeah, we asked you at this PRI in December to be on the podcast, and here we are in March and finally getting it handled. So,
yeah.
I can't believe we're already in March.
I know.
Yeah.
I know we won't remind you how many more days left till you have to race. But
yeah, don't. I'll have to run off.
Don't hang up on us right now. Be like, I got to go work on the car.
Yeah. So, anything else you've got here as we wind up? We still talk quite a ways for being our youngest guest. You know, we talk like awesome. 2 or 3 hours to people that are in their 90s that have all this life experience stuff. So you've got pretty good life experience of all the stuff you've done, and
So what do you have coming up? What's the future look like for Tyler?
So
I mean, obviously, wait a second. You're engaged, so we know part of that future.
Yep. So engaged. We're getting the actual official marriage deal will be next February after race season, naturally. We met at a drag boat race naturally, and we're right now we're just focusing as far as our other stuff. We're just focusing on the A-Fuel deal, trying to get it going. There's a lot of things I think in the drag boat deal. Hopefully they're working on some other stuff. I know there's been talks with Flow. I think MAVTV's still doing their deals. So, I mean, hopefully there's some more stuff happening. We can help get that deal out there. And, because a lot of people don't know all about it. And I try to do some drag boat 101 videos, that kind of stuff to help people that have never seen it. Because a lot of people haven't, they've seen them when they wreck, right? That's always the thing that people see.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But, the biggest thing is just keep on doing our thing, and we'll see how the next how this year goes with A-Fuel. We want to set records with it. It's kind of our focus with that. And then if Top Fuel comes back, of course, we want to go back and re-break our own record naturally. But try to see if we can win some championships. And the coolest part is right now with what we're doing is nobody else has ever done it. Nobody else is doing it. So to be kind of one of the first is pretty neat. We've had, now that we got it close to where everybody else is, we've had about a handful of people. They're like, we're going to build one. I'm like, okay. They're like, save us notes. And I'm like, I mean, okay, but good luck. I mean, it's, all the boats are different. All of them handle different, but we're going to focus on that. We may run an ARCA race here or there, with Andy again. And we kind of always did that.
And you're open if anybody calls that wants to put you in a drag car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Drag car. If Red Bull's watching, they want to do airplane racing. I mean, you've got a seat.
Do you have your pilot's license?
No, but I did in between 2 races. So we were racing in, this was probably the coolest weekend I've ever had in my life, but we ran the fuel boat and the pro mod on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Labor Day weekend. And Monday we had a race in Des Moines, Illinois for ARCA. So I couldn't get there quick enough, in order to do qualifying and stuff. So we ended up doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then I think this is actually when they moved the race to Sunday night for ARCA. So it was a night race at Des Moines. It was. So then we ended up, I had to go over to, I can't remember. I think maybe it was Springfield we went to, and got on a plane. And my dad and myself and another crew guy took the plane over, and the pilot let me fly around for a little bit and do some maneuvers. So that was fun. And then we landed, and one of the ARCA officials actually picked me up and took me to the racetrack, and we raced ARCA that night. So that was like the coolest weekend. I got to drive a boat, a plane, and a car in a matter of
awesome.
That's pretty cool. We have a friend that runs Little Shop Manufacturing south of us. He was on a few of my TV episodes, and he runs a brake parts company for trucks and other stuff that he makes. And he has a small, it's just a 2-seater, I think, maybe a 4-seater. He's got a plane anyway. And you can actually order the parts post office, FedEx, UPS, next day, delivered by Eric. Within a certain amount of time, he'll give you like a deal on shipping because he just wants to fly. It's like, oh, if you're you're in Louisville and you need this part, I'll fly it up to you. He has that option. So yeah, he's a pretty awesome dude.
That's awesome.
So, any sponsors you want to thank here at the end? Of course, we want to thank Industrial Depot for the support that they gave us all those years and connecting us, and Industrial Tools, Industrial Depot, and Jet Industrial Tools. Big support. Hopefully Peggy will listen to this. I'm going to send this to Peggy. I don't know if she knows we're doing a podcast, Peggy at Jet. So anybody else you need to thank?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, if anybody in Texas, even in Tennessee, we've got Vet Vodka, Timbercraft Whiskey. They're both owned by Big Springs Distillers. They're our number one partners right now, and they've helped us out a good bit. And Hedman Hustler Headers, I think they actually closed down, but Chris did a lot, and the Vandergriffs did a lot, get me started in drag boat racing and stuff when I first started my career. And we have a lot of people like Excess Batteries, even Jet, Red Horse Race Fittings, NGK. There's been a lot of people, and everybody that's pretty much partnered with us so far. Everybody's pretty much still partnered with us, and it's a pretty cool deal, I think, when everybody still helps out. Things change in companies and stuff, and they go up and down, but everybody that's helped us get where we are, everybody's still behind us and still helping us. So it's been pretty neat to keep everybody on that's been helping us this long and has been doing this. And we've got JCB. We've been in the talks. They helped us some last year. Equipment. They're helping us again this year. So West Pro down in Atlanta. So it's been pretty neat, and things have been going pretty good. So we'll see if we can keep on keeping on and see what we can do this year.
You're supposed to thank your mom and dad and thank your fiance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I mentioned them throughout the show.
Yeah.
You've got heavily implied, but yeah, I mean, dad, mom always said that. It's funny because my brothers, we talked about this while you guys were down there. My brother's a dentist, and of course I'm into the racing side of it. And mom was like, I got the defective gene. That's what she calls dad's hot rod gene, is the defective gene. And so
we've seen a couple of your mom's cars there, so your mom's got
she's got a little bit of defective gene too.
Yeah. I think that's just been growing on her after all these years. I don't know I don't know how bad she has it, but it's funny because my brother was always the dentist, never got into like hot rods, that kind of stuff. He's had a Camaro since he was a kid, but it was never finished. And for his wedding present, I have 14 days, I took barely a rolling chassis and put a motor and powered it, ran the wiring and everything, and made it, drivable for him for his wedding in about 14 days.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's funny because now after I think he got what did he get? He got a shaker hood Challenger. And after that, he's like, this has got a ton of power. And I said, give it 2 weeks. He's like, oh, no, this has got tons of power. I said, give it 2 weeks. You'll get used to the power, and then you're going to want more. And sure enough, man, it was about a month later. He's like, yeah, you're right. I'm used to the power. And I'm like, all right. And then now he's like, I think I want this car. I think I want now I've been going back. I'm like, see, Mom, he has the defective gene.
Just keep him away from the nitro jugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did actually race a boat one time. So we put it together for him, and he goes out there. We started calling 3/4 throttle after this. He goes out there, and I made the lap in it, went down the track. The boat was fine. And so he gets in it. It was like it was 110 mile an hour jet boat. And so he goes out there, makes a pass, and he gets on it. I hear it. He comes back in. I'm like, what's wrong with it? He's like, oh, it's fine. Why? And I'm like, why were you in and out of the gas? And he was like, what do you do? Just hold it wide open? I'm like, that is literally the funnest part of this whole thing. Yeah, you just whack the gas and
foot through the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I'm like, and if you try to push it past the floor once you're wide open, and he was like, oh, and then after that, we're like, all right, 3/4 throttle. So boat racing, you have names for the boat, right? So I did all the work getting the boat ready before the race. So I wanted to name it. And I was going to name it, but my brother wanted to name it Quick Extraction, for a dentist. And I'm like, you need to name it the Tooth Fairy so I can wear like wings down at the end ramp. But he didn't approve it. So
Yeah.
I thought that would be a perfect name for a boat.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
But yeah,
kids,
no,
kids would love it.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, I mean, and then Jocelyn on the other part, you know, mom and dad put up with all of my stuff and keeping up with all the racing and all this, and so I mean, couldn't do it without their support. And then Jocelyn does all the she's actually third in line to tune the boat, which everybody gets shocked about that, but she does all the data entry. So sometimes when dad and I are arguing, I'm like, she has a very unbiased opinion, so she won't take half the time. She doesn't take my side. Actually, I think more my side. But she'll, you know, it's like, hey, what do you think? And she's like, I think you should do this. And, you know, a lot of times it'll end up working out. So, you know, she does a very good job of every lap we've ever made in any boat I've ever raced has been logged in an Excel spreadsheet, and we can track it by DA. We can, I mean, anything. She's very, very analytical that way and very good at keeping notes. So, you know, and then mom
Smart and pretty?
What's that?
She's smart and pretty?
Yeah. Yep.
I was pretty in school. We say this on our podcast a lot. That's why I never had to learn math. A couple episodes ago, me and Carrie tried to do math, and it was like first grade math, and we made ourselves look like idiots. Yeah. So yeah, we're not.
Well, it was probably because you were just on the podcast and on the spot.
Right. There's too much pressure.
No, we both went to very small schools in Illinois, and I don't think there was really a math class.
Oh, they had it grouped in with science.
We were talking about that the other night with 32.
Yeah, we have a BMX girl, Lily, that we sponsored since she's 8. She's getting she rides BMX and cycling in college now, and she stopped by there on the way to spring break, and she's been dating another BMXer from Norway, and she's like, man, I really screwed up my math midterms last week. I was like, yeah. She goes, I got a 32. You know, it's been a long time since we've been. She goes, and we're just kind of like, she goes, out of 100. She goes, I still passed the class, but hopefully her mom and dad's not listening. Right. I don't know if they know. So her nickname is now 32. We're calling her 32.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of it. Well, you know, at least she's
that's what she was saying. It's like when we were talking about it that night, we're like, when we were in school, they said, well, you need to learn this because you're never going to have a calculator in your pocket. Well,
right. We have a little computer in our pockets now.
So there's a computer in my pocket all the time.
That's why I read car magazines and BMX magazines in math class, because I knew I'd have that in my pocket.
But that's what she was angry about, is the teacher made them do all this stuff, and they took all these notes, but they wouldn't let them use their notes. That's why she said she flunked the class. And
she's like, we never used our notes. We took the notes to study and then memorize the stuff. You weren't allowed to have your notes from all the classes. She just... No. Yeah, it's a different generation.
It is.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. I mean, yeah, no, I didn't get that either. I had to take the notes on the same deal, and yeah.
She tells us we're old because we're from the 1900s.
Well, I guess I barely made that cut still.
Yeah, because she's just 21 or going to be 21. Is 21 now?
Yes, she's 21.
Okay.
Wow.
Yep.
The 1900s. That hurts a little, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. It hurts a lot.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah, when you realize that it's like.
It's true. It really hurts.
Well, you know, on the bright
side.
And
now you have a 2,000-year car. This is really going to hurt. This is the first time I've ever said this out loud. It is technically an antique, because an antique, you could get antique plates if it's 25 years. Oh, my God.
That was hard. Yeah.
I still feel like it's got to be like 70s and 60s to be antiques.
Right?
Yeah, I feel that way too. But... Yeah, but
my building that I'm in, my hot rod shop, is 102 years old.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
All right, now that we're all feeling super old, so where can people find you on social media?
Thanks to Jocelyn, everything is Tyler Speer Racer. She got everything under the same. So I don't really use Twitter, but Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I don't do a ton on YouTube, but some. But all of those are Tyler Speer Racer. And then if anybody wants to check out, I did a mini series, and I may do some more of it this past winter. I didn't get enough time, as you could tell, with everything in pieces and strode about the shop. I still don't have back together, that haven't had enough time to do more Drag Boat 101, but I did like some mini series stuff. So if some people that have never seen drag boat racing want to learn about it, there's I think it's 7 episodes of just it's just the basics of how drag boat racing works, how the starting line works, and it's broken down into segments. So it's a little 2-minute segments, easier to digest because I can easily run down rabbit holes and it's difficult for anybody to follow with my rambling. But yeah, that's the easiest way to find it.
Yeah, you have rambled now for 1 hour and 52 minutes.
Good job.
Well,
I didn't even felt like it's been that long.
It's funny. So going back to Jocelyn, when we're at the racetrack, I like to talk quite a lot to anybody that will pretty much listen.
I wonder why you and Tim get along so well.
Yeah. So we'll be going by other racers, and because like a lot of times I don't get to watch a lot of other people racing while you're there because I'm working on the boat. You know, we've got our crew guys working on it too, but I very rarely get to go watch somebody else unless it's like there's a couple other pro outlaw boats that I tune for, so I go try to watch them, but I don't even get to watch them half the time. So when I'm walking around after the, you know, in between rounds or whatever, I'll just, hey, how you doing today? Or, how your lap's going? And then Jocelyn, she just ends up going, she goes, put your head down. Don't make eye contact with anybody. Keep going, just so we can like get back to the coach. And I'm like, well, I want to find out how everybody else is doing. Come on.
Yeah, none of my friends want to go to PRI or SEMA with me because you walk 20 feet, you see another person, you walk 40 feet, you see another person. And it's like, I was talking to my buddy, he's a California hot rod builder. And he's like, well, how did you know this guy? He goes, he's a California guy. I go, when I see him in California, I talk to him and I'll talk to him on the phone sometimes. And he's like, you've talked to this guy that lives like 2 hours from me more than I've ever talked to. I was like, well, one, I'm a fan of builders and stuff, so I'm a nerd. When I'm home, I don't talk to anybody.
Right.
Like I'm in my shop by myself. I come home to lunch and she's usually on conference calls, so I'll talk to my cats. He's passed out right there. So
well, you know it's getting bad if they're talking back. That's when you know you've probably got
They do talk back.
Our cats definitely talk back. Yeah, it's a wonder. The one, he's been full of it this week. So
yeah, but even when we go to a car show or a race week, car weekend, and Tim's announcing, we get done. He announces from 9 to 5. That is literally talking all day long. And then it's like, I'm hungry. I'm ready to go out for dinner. And he's like, well, I got to go talk to this person. I'm like, he's like, I haven't got to talk to anybody. You've been talking.
I've been doing a job and talking about race cars. I haven't seen what my buddies just built and brought out.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
It's different talking.
So
how many times have you lost your voice after doing
almost every weekend?
So a lot of times on the way home on Sunday, I can't hardly talk. So she loves it. So yeah. But when I'm out, I like, because I'm home when I'm by myself all the time, so I get kind of lonely. And I like to talk to people about stuff. And Carrie's either says, you're oversharing, don't talk too much. Or as you said, when we got to your neighborhood, I was way too many people. It's very people-y.
I don't really like people. So I have my circle, and that's where I like to stay. Just because I deal with people all the time. So
you get tired of dealing with people.
When you run events and you deal with 5,000 people on a weekend, it's a little much.
Yeah, I just like to stay with my little circle of
your cats.
Two. My cats. But yeah, Tim's the social butterfly. I'm not.
Certain circles.
Yeah. So, all right, let's wrap this up because I am starving. We have not ate our meat yet. So thank you very much for taking the time out tonight. Super excited.
So we want to thank Tyler Speer.
Yep.
I appreciate
Tyler Speer Racer anywhere online.
Yep.
And thanks for being a guest on the Strange Motion Way podcast. I've been your host, Tim Strange, along with
Carrie Strange.
And tonight, Axel and Turbo made good appearances tonight.
Yes.
So thanks, man. We'll see you later.
Sounds good. Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, welders. Ready to upgrade your gear and save some serious dough in the process? The Miller Build with Blue Savings and Rebate Program has you covered. Find amazing deals and cashback rebates on a wide range of Miller products, from welders to plasma cutters and everything in between, all backed by our 3-year warranty. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take advantage of the Miller Build with Blue program now. Visit us online or stop by your nearest Miller distributor today to start saving.